Under 4 years of age, I was taken to a outdoor event, and there were people gathered there out in rolling hills. The landscape was very tall hills and some open pasture on hillsides and things like that. And I went out there with a woman who was, I guess, watching me. And there were people moving freely around out in the pasture. I guess there was going to be an event out there. And I met a few of the people, and they introduced themselves, and I went down exploring the different parts of the place. Didn't want to go too far. It was a big world, and I went out into a clearing. I was sure, because of the distance that I walked, that none of the people that gathered there for the event would be finding where I'd gone to. I walked a good ways, and I went out there, and there was a man out there. There were some smaller kids out there, and I was there. They had armament, they had guns, they were authoritative in the way they talked. They made orders without the overtone of danger, but it was a setting that I was not used to. And the men there, they were militia. It's the only word I can think of to describe it. They were militia, and they had different areas where they were doing exercises. And at first there was a little bit of normalcy, so I wasn't afraid right away. I was very terrified later after the events. The men, they instructed us, and they instructed us very carefully, as if they had been instructing children for a long time and knew just how to get what they wanted and get what they expected. And they were fairly sure what the result would be when they asked a question, or when they told us to do something. I at first was asked to go up on climb up a ladder, and this was a very tall ladder. I'd recall maybe 15 to 20 feet, and I crawled up there, and they told me that if I didn't go, and that if I didn't jump, that I wouldn't have to worry about it, because I'd be dead. So I went up, and the object, apparently from what the other young children there were doing, was to land and not fall down, not to fall over, not to land on your back, but rather to land on your feet and stay there. And this is a pretty good height for even an adult to jump from. But I did. I jumped, and I landed, and I rolled over after maybe 10 or 15 seconds, I fell on my back and I screamed because the shock and the pain that was reverberating through my bones and my hips was painful. I mean, it hurt terribly. And I laid there for a little while, and of course I was afraid I was going to get killed because the man that instructed me to do so said that prior to me going up there, that if I fell over, that he was going to make quick work of me, and that he would, well, he had plenty of bullets, and he had my name on one of them, and he was going to use it. The inference was probably a little bit stronger than that he would do harm to me if I didn't do as instructed. So I got up and I walked and followed another one of the men that were there down to a canopy, if you would, and camouflage, I guess, and you couldn't see it from up above. There'd be no way. It was in next to a clearing, but it was near trees, so I doubt you could see it from above, and that's what I was hoping somebody could do, because I wanted them to see me there and see what kind of predicament I'd got myself into. These men were armed, and they had guns, and they were making threats. I went into the canopy, and he was describing some things in such a way that I got a good understanding. I don't know exactly what he said now. It's been over 30 years ago. And I went in, and to, not really a surprise, but to kind of demonstrate rather what was going on there, he was explaining some things, and he said, "You're going to be as good as these boys that are here with me." And I saw no one in the tent, saw no one in the canopy, and these little soldiers, if you will, probably younger than me or about the same age, they kind of moved right out of the darkness in the tent, and they were carrying their weapons. They came right out of the boxes and the netting and everything that was there in the canopy. Looked like there was some heavy electronic equipment in there. I don't know that any of it was on, but the boys, they just came out of the ether, if you will, and showed themselves. And I went on with it, and the man that was there in the tent, he took me out of the tent. I didn't speak, I wouldn't talk to him, because I knew that it was a shady deal I'd gotten myself into, and I didn't like the way that they were carrying out their business, being all sneaky and stuff. So I didn't really want to talk to him. So he marched me out of the tent and told me to follow him, and I did. I went, and he went over to an area, and there was a target there. And I didn't know what it was at first. It looked like a tripod, and it had a little canvas on it, and I didn't know exactly what it was. I came up from it from the rear, and he reached over and grabbed some rifles out of a man's hand that was standing there, and I didn't see him really well because he came up on the front side of the target and then just passed off the weapons, and he took the rifles, the man there that